Okay, hello, everybody. Once again, we are without an Ashkan, who is busy at work on the Float Conference, which is coming right up. And instead, we're joined by Derek Wyatt,
Hello, everybody.
who works very hard on the marketing for Float On and does a lot of stuff with Float Tank Solutions as well. And before we get started, a quick announcement that the conference that Ashkan is slaving away on is right around the corner. And early bird tickets are coming to a close on July 19th. So pick them up while you can. It's a lot cheaper to grab them now than when they go up to full price. And we pretty much have to put this into the schedule every year for doing the price increase, because this is kind of when we have to put in our orders for all the different tote bags and meal plans and hotel rooms and everything like that for final logistics. So, help yourself save some money and help us make sure that we get everything planned.
And if that was not enough pressure, it's going to be the last float conference that Float On is organizing. So come on out and join us, because we'd really love to see you here in Portland.
Yeah, it's true. It's going to be a great last Portland shindig. So hopefully see all of you out here. And on to the exciting stuff. Today's question is, how do you get customers to give you testimonials?
Ask nicely.
Yeah, I guess have a good service is, run good floats and don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
And they just kind of flow in naturally. So
Not so natural.
thanks for your question, but no, it's actually a very active thing. And even if you do kind of get passive testimonials coming in, you need to kind of ask permission to reuse those on the website anyway. So there's a whole process to it, I guess. And before we launch too far into that, what do you think is even the importance of getting testimonials? Like, how important is it to collect feedback from your customers that you end up displaying publicly?
I mean, testimonials, also known as third-party validation, says that all the words on your website and everything aren't just made up by you, that actual other people came.
They're made up by other people,
They're made
too.
up by other people. They actually came, did your service, survived, and lived to tell about it. So, I mean, it's one of those things when you're brand new to the concept of floating and you go to someone's website and you're looking through it and you see these great stories you can relate to, that's powerful in getting people one step closer into floating.
Yeah, and I think even, or especially with something that's kind of as out there as floating, being able to read other people's responses to that experience is really useful in convincing first-timers to come in. I mean, and I wonder, so obviously there are sites like Yelp out there, like Google reviews, and those
Facebook
kind of
reviews.
What was that?
Facebook reviews.
Yeah, Facebook reviews, and those kind of just collect testimonials passively. So other than those, do you still think it's worthwhile grabbing your own testimonials to be able to put on your website and not just rely on Yelp? Or what's your thought on that, kind of the privately reeling them in?
I think you can do it all, right? So people, if they feel compelled, they're going to leave a review. Having a process in which you reach out to people is very powerful, because they may not know that there's a Yelp or a Google, or they may not have those accounts to go leave a review. So getting just more stories collected. So like on Float On's website, there's a whole page of just testimonials. And as we get more, we just keep adding them. And so you can literally spend 30, 40 minutes on one page of our website reading everybody's story. And as they come in, we put them up. So if you didn't actively ask, so you mentioned the passive ones, if you didn't actively ask, you're going to probably be missing out on a whole lot more stories that would be great website fodder.
Yeah, definitely. And you can't always control exactly what order things are displayed in Yelp, and kind of, I mean, I guess the way that the third-party social validation was initially explained to me, and the way you kind of want it to work, is like you're hanging out at a bar with a friend or something, or someone you're just meeting and you're trying to convince them to do business with you. And like in the middle of your conversation, someone walks up and is like, "Oh, excuse me, sorry to interrupt the conversation. I just had to say thank you so much for all the help that you gave me in marketing earlier. Thank you so much for whatever you did." And then they walk off and you're like, "Oh, sorry about that. Anyway, back to our business," and you keep talking. Then someone else walks up and they're like, "Oh, excuse me, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had to say, like, you're the best and my business wouldn't be where it is," et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's this powerful element to having that present on any of your web pages. So
and asking for testimonials is a lot cheaper than paying plants to come into a bar and shill for you fakely. No.
Yeah, right. Well, ideally that would be natural, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. So many people come up to you in a bar. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. I guess, which maybe means you're an alcoholic or something at that point. But yeah, so it is good. They're just one of the most powerful psychological marketing tools out there So in my mind, having them on just about every one of your pages or anywhere where it makes sense, especially where you're collecting money from people, is a great place to have testimonials.
And there's some marketing tests out there that are showing actually you can embed a Facebook review onto your website. Facebook will give you the code to do it. And then that's actually showing to be more trustworthy than just you putting somebody's words on your website. So if you want to even step up the third-party validation, you can literally put somebody's review that's on your page, embed it on your website, and they can like that. They can comment on it right there on your website. It even adds to the level of trustworthiness engagement.
Nice. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I was going to start doing that here pretty soon.
Great. I'm like, yeah, where's our tests?
Yeah, no, we're getting there. I was reading about it like last week. I was like, oh,
Cool.
I'll add that to the list.
Yeah, that's exciting. And another just a pro tip shout out too, that marketing is always this moving target. So don't assume because something has worked in the past that there's not areas to improve it or areas where it can develop.
For sure.
And I guess we should actually answer this person's question at some point.
What was the question again?
Yeah. Can you guys please ramble on about the utility of testimonials? It said, how do you get customers to give them to you? How do you actually get the testimonials?
So one of them is something you set up, the check-ins after somebody floats with us.
Yeah. And so actually, just to back up one step, which is there's kind of two utilities that I find to testimonials. And one really is just the social validation. You get to put them on your website. The more that people see that, hopefully, the more you convince new people to come in. But there's this secondary part that I think is almost more important in some cases, which is getting feedback from your customers to find out how your service is doing. You know, even if the testimonial is a negative one and you don't plan on like putting that on your homepage or something, just the act of trying to get that feedback from customers has its own benefit of letting you know where you need to improve and how you're doing. So we really actively try to solicit not just testimonials, but feedback in a bunch of different ways. And
yeah, I'll even add a third usefulness of testimonials.
Okay.
You'll actually get to understand how your customers describe your service. So using their words in your marketing. So you know how to describe floating. It's the best you know how. You've been doing it for 8 years, and it's very technical, and you're really close to it. But you, through a testimonial, can gain new insights by how somebody else might describe it. One thing I've picked up on is a lot of people like to use the word, oh, I thought I was claustrophobic, and then. Like, you can actually use that language in your marketing. Like, you may feel claustrophobic at first, but then, and you can kind of get into people's minds by other people allowing you into their minds to understand the language that will actually break down the resistance to get into floating. So there's tip number 3 there for you.
Nice, sort of some psychological espionage.
Yeah. Use their own words against them is what I like to call it.
For their own good, ultimately, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. So
How?
I guess the first step is when people get out of a float, we really try to catch them before they take off, just to see if they feel like starting up a conversation. We won't like corner them and harass them. We don't even really ask how was your float at this point. We just say welcome back. But sometimes just based off of that, people will strike up a conversation and really get into things. And if you have a good conversation with someone, don't be afraid to just ask them if you can use that as a testimonial. Or like, hey, do you mind if I email you a little reminder? And if you don't mind, I'd love to actually get you to write that down. It's really useful to have those kinds of things on our website.
Yeah.
And so that's a great way to get them. And then like Derek said, we also do an email task, I guess, for our staff members where every single shift they have to reach out to someone or a couple people from the last shift that they were working and personally check in. So either give them a phone call or shoot them off an email. And just based on that, them kind of emailing this after the float, a couple days, email off, they'll get nice testimonials coming in as well. And then, as we've talked about before, we also have a 90-day check-in where if someone hasn't been back to float for 3 months after any of their floats, they'll get another email basically saying, hey, how's it going? How was your float last time? Did anything go wrong? Did anything go right? And we'll get nice feedback based on that. And all of those are not given typically in... Like, the people aren't expecting you to just plaster that on the website. So after you get good feedback from any of those reach outs, you also need to reach back to the customer and say, hey, that was really great to hear. Do you mind if I republish this on our website or something like that?
So, we've talked about some very straightforward ways to get testimonials just by specifically asking, but can you think of any unique ways that aren't so transactional to get those insights?
Same, you mean other than like conversations or emails back and forth or something like that? Well, we also have our art books out. Some people have big chalkboards. Some people have, panels on the wall, whiteboard kind of things. And just, it's amazing what'll happen if you set out books or a panel for people to write on. The kinds of stuff that people, maybe wouldn't mention to you out loud when they're coming out of their floats, but that they put down to paper, are really good. And the difficulty there is it's really hard to track people down to figure out how to ask for permissions. Lots of times they don't put their name on it. You don't know exactly when it was written. So I always figure if they're putting it in a public book, it's fine to put it up somewhere else just with an anonymous in a public setting.
If
I don't
they
feel
put
like
their
that's
name
betraying.
down on it, you might blur the name or crop the name out.
Yeah. As long as those are released anonymous,
Yeah.
I think those are great too. And those actually are cool because you can take photos of them. Often they're colorful and have illustrations, and you can actually make some good social media content out of
They
that.
also offer another way to view testimonials that don't have to necessarily be on a website, right? Like people are in the shop, they're unplugged, they're offline, and now they're thumbing through this journal, hearing more affirming stories of how great floating is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It is sort of just like an offline testimonial generator, in addition to like really cool art book as well. Yeah.
The writers program is just kind of an extension of extended testimonies.
Yeah, that's very true. Getting people, and sometimes they're a little more artistic. It's not just like, hey, go float at this place, but a lot of them are really powerful poems and stories about how floating has helped people get past their chronic anxiety and learn to be healthier with themselves
Talking
and with others.
to loved ones who've passed on.
Yeah, some really cool, profound stuff in there. And yeah, I agree. They're just like long form, even more put together testimonials.
For sure.
I will say we haven't started this at Float On, but it's something I've been thinking about doing, which is starting to send out a right after they float survey, and hopefully a sneak peek into some Helm developments too. This will be a feature that eventually pops up in Helm, probably sometime in the next half a year or so, is after float check-in email, which basically just has a either would you recommend this to a friend, net promoter score kind of thing, or just like a happy face, sad face, how was your float? And if it's good or bad, ask the person to write a review afterwards. And I like that system for two reasons. A, it just makes sure that you have a really good finger on the pulse of what your customers are thinking about your business. And B, it intercepts both good and bad reviews and lets you, for the good ones, encourage them to post it up to Google or Facebook. If they write a good review and they're like, I loved it, you can be like, oh, here, we already copied and pasted this into a forum. You just have to hit post and you can share it. Or if they didn't like it, then you can also like take that review and say, oh, can you tell us more about what you didn't like? And they kind of get out their anger and frustration in that form without going to Yelp. And they might even think they're posting to more of a public review site, but you're kind of intercepting that bad testimonial before it goes public, which I thought was a really nice use of that. So, again, something we'll probably switch to. I do like the idea of every single float really asking people how it went in this email in a way that we don't feel comfortable asking right when they're floaty and just got out of the tank.
Is there at any point that you would probably stop asking that? Like, let's say after their 100th float. Do you have to still keep sending that request, or do you think you can tailor that back after their 10th float? Do you think there's like kind of a drop-off point where you just stop asking for testimonials, or it doesn't seem, again, so transactional?
Yeah, I mean, definitely after the first couple floats makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm not sure... Yeah, I'd have to run some experiments and say, again, this isn't something we've actually played around with, so... I could see it being nice after every float because you could have floated 49 times and then your 50th, the tank is freezing and the person at the front counter was rude to you.
Right.
But hopefully you just write in naturally.
Yeah, I feel like after your 50th float, you're comfortable enough with the shop to know that was an outlying bad experience.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I guess instinctively I feel like, the first few times is good to send it out and maybe you don't need to as much after that. But, yeah, definitely something to play around as we launch into a system like that.
Cool. I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, of course you do.
Cool. You got anything else on testimonials?
No, I think they're just really important to show that it's not just you saying it's great, that even friends, like, oh, I know that person that said it was great.
Yeah, get them up there.
Yeah.
Make people do the little mental trickery thing, make them think that you thought of the words themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trickery.
Sorry, I mean friendly manipulation.
Yes. Neuro-linguistic programming.
All right. If anyone has questions of their own, if you, faithful listener, have your own question, go to floatanksolutions.com/podcast and ship it over our way.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Bye.